Imagine waking up one morning to find that your credit card bill has doubled overnight. Not because you went on a shopping spree, but because the interest rate you agreed to years ago just skyrocketed without warning. For millions of Americans, this isn't a nightmare scenario. It's reality. And it's quietly pushing the entire economy toward the edge of something far more dangerous than most people realize. Right now, Americans collectively owe more than $1.14 trillion in credit card debt. Let that sink in for a moment. $1.14 trillion. That's more than the entire economy of Mexico. It's more than the GDP of Australia. And it's sitting on the shoulders of everyday people who are paying an average interest rate of over 20%. To put that in perspective, that's higher than any time in the past 3 decades. But here's where it gets interesting. This isn't just about people spending too much on things they don't need. It's about a system that's been designed almost perfectly to keep people trapped. To understand how we got here, we need to go back to the early 2000s. After the dot-com bubble burst, the Federal Reserve slashed interest rates to historic lows. Banks were suddenly sitting on mountains of cheap money, and they needed somewhere to put it. Credit cards became the golden goose. Banks started mailing out pre-approved offers by the millions. They made it easier than ever to get a card, even if your credit wasn't perfect. The idea was simple. Get people hooked on easy money, and they'll keep paying you back, with interest, forever. And it worked. For a while. But then came 2008. The financial crisis hit, and suddenly everyone was terrified of debt. Credit card balances actually started to fall as people tightened their belts and paid down what they owed. By 2013, total credit card debt had dropped to around $650 billion. It seemed like Americans had learned their lesson. But that lesson didn't last long. Fast forward to today, and we're not just back where we started. We've blown past every record. Credit card debt has nearly doubled since that low point in 2013, and the reasons why are more complicated than you might think. Sure, inflation's part of it. When the cost of groceries, rent, and gas all go up, but your paycheck doesn't, you fill the gap with plastic. But there's something else happening beneath the surface, something that most people don't see until it's too late. Credit card companies have become masters of behavioral psychology. They know exactly how to keep you spending. Rewards programs that make you feel like you're winning, minimum payment options that seem manageable but trap you in debt for decades. And then there's the interest rate game. Most people don't realize that the rate on their card can change at any time. That 17% you signed up for, it can jump to 29% if you're even a day late on a payment. And once you're there, it's almost impossible to climb out. Let me give you a real example. Say you have $10,000 in credit card debt at an average interest rate of 22%. If you only make the minimum payment each month, it would take you over 30 years to pay it off, and you'd end up paying more than $28,000 in interest alone. That's nearly 3 times what you originally borrowed. This isn't an accident. It's a feature, not a bug. But the real danger isn't just what this means for individuals, it's what it means for the entire financial system. Because here's the thing, credit card debt is unsecured. Unlike a mortgage, there's no house the bank can take if you stop paying. Unlike a car loan, there's no vehicle to repossess. If millions of people start defaulting on their credit cards all at once, banks are left holding nothing but losses. And right now, the warning signs are everywhere. Delinquency rates, the percentage of people who are 90 days or more behind on their payments, started climbing sharply in late 2023. By the middle of 2024, delinquencies had hit levels not seen since the early days of the pandemic. And unlike 2008, when people had equity in their homes to fall back on, many Americans today have no cushion. Savings rates are at historic lows. Real wages, when adjusted for inflation, have barely budged. And the cost of living keeps rising. Now you might be thinking, can't people just file for bankruptcy and start over? Technically, yes, but bankruptcy laws were tightened significantly after the 2005 Bankruptcy Abuse and Prevention and Consumer Protection Act. This law made it much harder for people to wipe out their debts. It was sold as a way to prevent abuse, but in reality, it made it nearly impossible for struggling families to get a fresh start. So people stay stuck, paying the minimum, watching their balances grow, and hoping something changes. And then there's the ripple effect. When people are drowning in debt, they stop spending on anything beyond the essentials. That means less money flowing into the economy. Small businesses suffer, job growth slows, and banks, the same institutions that profited from all those high interest rates, start to panic because their customers can't pay them back. Sound familiar? It should, because this is almost exactly what happened with subprime mortgages in 2008. Except this time, the debt isn't tied to houses, it's tied to everything: groceries, medical bills, rent, emergencies, the things people can't live without. So what happens next? If delinquency rates keep climbing, banks will start writing off massive amounts of bad debt. Their stock prices will fall, investors will get nervous, and if enough banks start to wobble, the Federal Reserve will have to step in, just like they did in 2008. But here's the problem. Interest rates are already high, and inflation is still a concern. The tools the Fed used last time might not work this time. We could be looking at a scenario where millions of Americans default, banks take huge losses, and the economy slides into a recession, all because of credit card debt. And yet, despite all of this, credit card companies are still sending out offers, still raising credit limits, still encouraging people to spend more. Because for them, the system is working exactly as intended. Even if some people default, the profits from everyone else more than make up for it. But for the rest of us, for the people carrying those balances and paying those interest rates, the system isn't working at all. It's a trap. And the longer we stay in it, the harder it becomes to escape. The next financial storm isn't coming from Wall Street or some exotic financial instrument that no one understands. It's coming from Main Street, from kitchen tables where families are deciding which bills to pay, from wallets stuffed with plastic that promised convenience but delivered debt. And unless something changes, unless we wake up to what's really happening, that storm is going to hit harder than anyone expects. The question isn't if, it's when.